can just see the very bottom of the portrait there. That is going to be his Paladin. So it's Murloc Paladin, very aggressive.
Versus Wall Shaman and Helix Fossil. Told you he was good. He's done his research.
He's going to go very defensive on this one. And immediately you have to start asking a question. You see this Murloc and you think, okay, super aggressive. How soon do I drop my Doomsayer?
Yeah, you've got to... There's not too much surprise damage from Paladin, so you can be a little bit greedy. A bit like playing against Priest, where you know how much damage can come out of their hand and you can plan around it. But, yeah, you can't mess around much with these Murlocs. You probably have to drop it right away here.
Yeah, just play it on curve. Obviously, you can keep your coin on this one. You don't have to go too crazy, but Jambre, unfortunately, can't really pull out too much on this one. He's going to lose all 3 of those minions, so just gets 3 damage to face and just has to concede that tempo. That means Helix Fossil can do what he wishes with this turn, and a Manatite Totem is going to be the answer.
I'm just looking at Helix's lineup here because he has Hunter and Warlock left. We could see a Handlock or something like that coming out here. If he's going with Wall Shaman, and he's obviously researched Jambre, he knows what he's up against, and the Hunter could just be, who knows, could be anything if he's gone for a strategy of defeating the aggro.
I've got to say, I love that the Gentle Megasaur has made this Murloc hero power actually useful, because it basically was pretty useless before. There wasn't really many decks that pulled it into effect aside from using War Leaders. Now it's like another card that makes that hero power have a bonus use, essentially.
They all get the same adapt, so your choice applies to them across the board, which means that +1/+1 is better than usual, but Jambre's got a 7/8 he needs to hack through, and hack through he does. And yeah, the Megasaur there doing a very good work. And Helix Fossil basically missing a go. That's the problem with Earth Elemental. It doesn't really...
And this is the brutal thing, right? Because he had Ancestral Spirit in hand. He wanted so badly to get that Earth Elemental to resurrect itself when it goes down. And unfortunately for him, Jambre able to deal with that situation, gets the correct adapt. He could have also got the Poisonous. Poisonous would have also dealt with the situation. Helix Fossil basically has to concede a turn.
Yeah, Helix will have a good turn 7, but that might be too late because Finger's going to start ninjaing his way onto this board, and with Blessing of Kings, he'll be able to get through pretty much anything to summon his Murloc-y friends. Of course, when you play a deck with a lot of Murlocs in, Finger's nowhere near as brutal as he is in combo versions because you can just summon 1/1s or 1/3s or whatever. So Finger can be... He's not the auto win he is in some decks.
Yeah. But luckily, both Inquisitors have already been, or are both at least in hand at this stage. So that's 2 of the less useful Murlocs drawn out already. And look at that. Basically just disrespecting the Manatide.
Devolve! How do you deal with Finger? You turn it into something rubbish.
And you could even go with the Dirty Rat into Devolve here as well if you want to ruin another combo piece. But I don't think the mana's really quite worth it at this point. Fandral, War Leader actually, is pretty not that bad. And there's not a real answer in the hand aside from like a Hex.
Yeah, he's got the Tidal thingy, Surge. Thingies and technical, and you don't have to worry about Fandral like you normally would because it is a Paladin deck. You don't get choose one, make a Murloc.
They
or
already get both effects anyway.
So Hex is in hand as well now, and Helix is in a very, very strong very, very strong position. Let's use all the words in the sentence.
Hydrologist is going to go down here. Getaway Kodo seems pretty nice here. Redemption, it's okay, but not really that effective in a Murloc deck, just because everything's so weak anyway. You don't get that much attack back from it.
And Eye for an Eye, which is the way you beat Time Warp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just plop it on the table and say, I don't care, I'm going to kill you in your turn, not mine.
We've already seen, or everyone's seen many Trollden clips at this point of an Eye for an Eye landing against mage combos, and Exodia Mage, as they've called it, when you drop your 4 pint-sized... No, it's not pint-sized summoner, it's...
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
They look like pint-sized summoners, in fairness. The art is very, very similar. Anyway, Jambre, as is his want, as he is known for, getting the most out of the situation, hitting for 5 with a Wisp. That could only happen to Jambre. But he is really running out of resources here. Impressed with Helix, he's taking his time over every turn. He is a very, very thoughtful player.
I have to say, there is a very high chance that Jambre is running Dino-Size in this deck.
Sure, that would
we're
make a lot of sense.
getting to a point in the game where a top take of Dino-Size would just end the game.
I mean, as Ben Brode was trying to tell us, it is just a Pyroblast.
Yeah.
But it's conditional Pyroblast in a deck that doesn't do damage very well. However, the damage has been done because Jambre is good at that stuff, and he will be able to hit for 10 at any point. Like you say, there's probably a Dino-Size in there. We don't look at the lists here because the players can't see them, so it's not fair if we can. But it does seem likely.
Certainly does. Now, Argus seems like a pretty good card to drop here just to build up the size of this board ever so slightly more. Unfortunately, there is a lot of removal in the hand of HelixFossil, as you would expect in a very control-oriented deck, as we're seeing. The Primordial Drake there, 8 mana, 4/8, that deals 2 damage to all minions on board. That with a Maelstrom Portal as well will clear the majority of this board away. You can just trade the Water Speaker in as well.
And if you're wondering why Jambre here is playing into all of the removal that he knows is almost certainly in Helix's deck, it's because he is going to lose if he does not. This is the... Well, this doesn't get any better. Let's just hope that all Helix's good cards are in the bottom 8 cards of his library and hope. Because if I sit there and try and play around AoE, I definitely do not win this game.
I like this from HelixFossil as well. He's basically just saying, do you know what? I can hold on to my removal for a turn or two. It's not super urgent. I want to get this combo out. I got robbed of the combo earlier on in the game. But importantly, even with this overload, he can still get a combo off. He doesn't lose out with having the overload from the Earth Elemental.
Right, and next turn, this has said to Jambre, hey, you want to go all in? I'll let you go all in. Go for it. And Jambre kind of has to take the bait here because there's just this outside chance that that Helix can't do anything. But Jambre is just almost done here. Like you say, a Dino-Size would be a way out, but he needs a way to draw a card, and he doesn't have one in his hand.
No, I don't think Dino-Size is even a correct way out at this point either, since this is just going to resurrect itself as well. That 7/8 will return itself to the board.
Yeah, it's absolute mess here for Jambre, and again, I've complimented Helix a lot today, so don't let me down, Helix, but he has researched his opponent and come out with a deck. Most people aren't playing Wall Shaman at the moment, but it's the right deck for the job against the opponent in hand.
It's definitely true. He's going to be able to get himself a bonus Warlock there. And we'll see whether... I don't know if there's anything in this deck for Jambre to find. There's a second Dirty Rat as well. But just the AoE combo seems like the perfect play to go with on this turn. There's not really any reason to drop a different kind of combo at this stage, and he even has the correct minions to just trade this board away, deal with everything, and then push a whole bunch of damage to the face.
With Taunt and Hex still in hand, so you can play 5/5 Taunt, you can Hex a real problem. Jambre can't get a board, so Dino-Size is just not a thing that's going to happen. We can hear the bottom right happening.
So Sunkeeper Tarim comes down, which certainly reduces the potential from the likes of HelixFossil's board, but it's not really enough when there's so much still available. Obviously, as you can see, the hand isn't quite working for Jambre, but there is nothing in his hand currently, so we'll hopefully be able to get that resolved.
Yeah, he blew his hand quite a while there.
Yes, he certainly did. Now, HelixFossil trying to decide how to finish off this turn.
Yeah, this is basically going through every single card that you've seen in the entire game and thinking, what is the one card that could possibly get him back into this? And actually, that card might be something like Divine Favour. So we might just see Helix spew stuff all over the board here just to stop Jambre from drawing 3 or 4 cards in one go. Because nothing else is going to cost the game.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any kind of crazy combos this deck could bring that just win the game on the spot from Jambre. I don't think there really is. I think the only way Jambre somehow wins this game now is if he finds Dino-Size. And I think... I can't tell whether this is HelixFossil just taking a while on this turn.
Or if we have some sort of...
The servers are not having fun again.
The servers had a lot of fun. It was just everyone else that didn't.
That is very true.
The servers were out partying.
Oh, well, it was more the playful sprites that were having a lot of fun.
They were actually playing and spriting. And Helix Fossil here can just go dirty rat, thing from below, kill that. But that would mean that Divine Favour would have to draw Equality and Consecration, which are two cards that probably don't exist in this deck. It does seem like there is an issue, obviously, now, because we've seen the emote from the Shaman go out and basically nothing's happened.
There ain't no rope burning, that's for sure. Nor the midnight candles just yet, since it's not quite midnight.
Is it not?
Nope, it's like 22:17, as you can see on the screen right there.
Wow, 1 hour 43 minutes to midnight.
And that's when the candles
that
will
would make
be
a really bad song. No wonder they didn't go with those lines.
Yeah, that would. I mean, I think they could have gone a little bit more generous, maybe like 5 minutes. But either way,
nice.
A little bit of an anticlimactic end to that first game. I have no idea who's won that one, or whether, in fact, it was a spectator bug, or whether it was a matter of everyone DCing, or I will let you know as I know.
That noise sums up the servers this evening, I'm afraid.
Yep.
That was the perfect combination of not being polite and not losing PG. I'm impressed, young man.
This is very much like a old school UK CSGO stream at this point, where none of the games work. There's a delay of at least an hour on every single match. Everything's delayed. Everything's cancelled at the end of the night. And it turns out you've been in the studio for 10 hours since 6 p.m. That's what it feels like to me. Apparently, off-stream result, we have Ben winning 3-2 over Duncan.
That's him banned.
Yeah, he's now banned from Meltdown. But
Ben goes into that top 8, another one halfway to Comic-Con.
Yeah, so Ben and Hello Leroy now have qualified.
And Ball Control has lost 3-1 to Dan's WF. So Ball Control down to his last life, sinks to 1 and 2, Dan up to 2 and 1. And that's going to make for very interesting next week. Whoever wins this one, Ball Control is going to be in that bracket waiting for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean,
potentially it's a random draw.
Both of our previous champions now on 2 losses. Jambre, we'll see whether he can even get on a par with Ball Control. We could see a Jambre Ball Control rematch within the group stages to see who is going to be knocked out of the tournament.
And Hello Leroy, who has had accidents at the top 4 so far, has sailed through this group stage.
Yeah.
Absolutely sailed through it, straight into the top 8. Honestly, at this point, I think the Hello Leroy is the favourite for the whole event, but he hates being the favourite.
That is true. I do have to correct myself. I got a little bit overexcited there, boys and girls. There can be no Ball Control versus Jambre rematch in a Swiss. Apparently, you only play each opponent once.
I thought you meant a rematch from the final. I forgot they played in week 1. I'm not taking the blame because I never do.
If I can count correctly, that means that the... Actually, no, never mind. I'm not going to even say that.
We're casters, we can't count correctly.
I was going to say they're guaranteed to match certain opponents, but that's not how it works because there's 2 and they could swap around. Anyway, we have a bit of a giveaway going on, so get your thumbs at the ready on your phones. But we're giving away a 24-inch gaming monitor. AOC have graciously given us a gift to give to you at home, so make sure to get involved. It's esl.pm/AOC Hearthstone. Now, the first time I saw that link, I thought it was Aochstone or Auchirkstone or something along those lines. It is actually AOC Hearthstone. ESL.pm, that is. Gaming monitor. I don't know about you, but I like to have a nice high refresh rate so I can see the cards flick up in perfect 144 frames per second.
144 frames per second of being hit in the face with an 8-8 Hydra.
Hey man, when you're going with caverns below combos, that's a pretty long animation. You've got to have the quick frame rate so that you can weave all of the card
Plenty of other Blizzard games available where that does matter a huge amount, though. Overwatch in particular being a game that the pros do say that the jump to 144 is actually huge. The next jumps up not so much.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in my experience is when you talk to pro players and things like that, when it comes to FPSs and they're talking about frame rates and things, when you're playing on less than it, you don't notice that it's not that good. But then when you go on a PC that does have it, it's like, oh my god, it's so smooth. It's like the jump between 30 and 60 FPS. If you're watching YouTube videos and one of them's 30, one of them's 60, It's a very noticeable difference between the two. It's exactly the same again because it is just slightly over double 60. So generally speaking, it is a pretty huge leap up, and yeah, it definitely improves the kind of smoothness of the game.
On top of that, by the way, you know, enter the giveaway. That's what we're trying to tell you to do here, just in case you hadn't got the hint yet. It's there somewhere. The other thing is, you never go back from having more monitors. How did I cope when I only had 7 monitors? Oh my god.
You've got to get up to that 8. Anyway, we are going to be going for a quick 5 minutes break. I can confirm Helix Fossil did win the first game in this match, though. So it is 1-0 to Helix Fossil over Jambre, and we should hopefully be able to continue this series in a few minutes' time. We'll get you guys updated. Keep an eye on Twitch chat where we'll be letting you know what is going on, but we'll be back in just a few. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Munchballs. This is the ESL Premiership powered by Windows 10 and Asus ROG Republic of Gamers. My name is Munchballs. This is Lorinda, back for Hearthstone. This time, it was a technical issue on our end instead of on Blizzard's end, and we should be able to get back into this series once again. HelixFossil 1-0 up right now against Jambre, our reigning champion. And in other news, according to Twitter, Mysterious won his game against Jammy JMG 3-1 as well.
So Mysterious is, I think he lost in week 1, so he's fought back to 2-1
I think it's 2-1
now.
yeah.
And yeah, he's definitely 2-1. I'm just not sure which week he lost, but I think he lost in week 1 because everybody did apart from Leroy.
That's not quite true, is it? I believe 8 players specifically all won their games in week 1. Because that's how maths works. Anyway, we're back into this series. It's going to be the Hunter coming out from HelixFossil and Jambre running with that old elemental shaman.
Now this is interesting because HelixFossil has got what looks like the Quest Hunter, but there's a card missing if he's got the Quest Hunter. It's the Quest. So he's just going with good old-fashioned aggro hunter of some sort, and he's going to fetch those 1-drops and plop them on the table by the look of it.
Yeah, not the greatest draw ever if you want to play that full-on face hunter. And one thing that is going to be a bit of a pain for him to deal with is the Maelstrom portal that's in the hand of Jambre right now. But the Alley Cat may well come down regardless.
Yeah, notice there he's got the Crawler as well, so he was ready for Pirates, even though he banned the Warrior, so he may have been ready for Rogue, for instance. Or maybe he's playing his own Pirate, that'd be unusual. I don't think that's going to happen.
Now, I think I would probably play the Corsair here, just because even if this Hunter deck does run Eagle Horn Bow,
right,
I think just getting patches on board this early, once you've seen the Alley Cat go down, you're like, okay, he wants to fight for board control. Let's make sure that I have the minions available to guarantee that I'm the one in charge.
Nom, says the Crawler.
That's what they usually say. But Flame Tongue Totem in hand is going to be somewhat of an answer to that. It does mean that you have to trade basically your whole hand in, though. Or
yeah,
your whole
pretty
board.
rough here for Jambre, and again, Helix's tech working out pretty well so far. And his future turn's looking okay, although his turn 4 into Coin Warden might not be enough spam on the board. But currently, Jambre is the one who is attacking. Oh, and adapting a 3-4 is a pretty good thing to be doing. This is a difficult decision now because you want to get that Rat Pack out, but also you can't refuse adapting a 3-4. Almost all of the options are fantastic here.
Wind Fury would be amazing right here. 3 attack is also pretty good. Can't be targeted by spells and hero powers. Also pretty good. And then there's always just make it a taunt so that he has to deal with it.
Yeah, it's 3 decent options, but he would have preferred Wind Fury, as you say, or maybe give it +3 health. I imagine have a 3-7 against this army of not very good minions. So he'll be a little bit disappointed, and it's one of the things that I think is making Adapt so skillful is picking the best of a mediocre bunch. When you're sitting there going, oh, I'm just going to get my Wind Fury, oh, what's all this? And actually, it's still decent options, but you've got to get your thoughts in order and think, right, which is the best of these? And here's going with Untargetable.
Now, there are some pretty decent available plays for Jambre right now if he wants to try and regain board control. Looking for the Wrath of Air there, he's not quite going to find it. Maelstrom Portal would be available. He can take control of the board right now with the Maelstrom Portal, but he's going to go with the Flame Tongue Totem and look for trades instead.
Yeah, this is interesting because they're both playing aggressively, but I think Helix is the one who needs to be attacking, and Jambre's identified that because he's going to be able to play into the Primal Lord in a few turns' time, and also his Fire Alley is as big as anything that Helix will have apart from Savannah Highmane and the Hydra.
Yeah, well, depending if he's running the Hydra, I'd assume that he is going to be running that Bittertide Hydra, the 5-mana 8/8 that we've seen so many times across tonight already.
Yeah, it fits your curve really nicely. 5's a bit awkward for Hunter. There's Tundra Rhino, there's the Warden, and then there's the Hydra. So Hydra tends to fit in, but with him playing the Wardens, maybe he doesn't run them both.
Jade Lightning's certainly a pretty nice find on this one. We'll be able to trade in his totem just to finish that minion off, keep his totem alive. And actually starting to build a bit of a board that's awkward for a Hunter to deal with, especially if he's not running any traps. I wouldn't expect him to be running things like an explosive trap in this very aggressive version of a Hunter deck. So actually, Jambre can keep this board relatively safe, and with the Fire Elemental for next turn, he should be able to deal with the majority of things that are going to come down on turn 5 from Hunter.
Yeah, nothing here works very well because of this Maelstrom Portal. You want to get the Rats down, you want to get the Alley Cats down, you want to play your Jambre down, which is probably what he plays first to see if he can pick up a nice 4-drop, because he knows that he's going to get blown out by AoE here if he's not careful, so I think he might try and pick something up. This thing does swing games from time to time.
It looks like he is just going to try and fill the board with these death rattles that, as and when they do die, they're going to have to still be dealt with. They don't just go away completely. Right. Tar Creeper, though, actually feels like a pretty good option. Obviously, you do want to just drop the Fire Elemental, because it's turn 6 and it fills your curve, and it's just a big, beefy minion. But at the same time, the Tar Creeper, just to block any input is always going to be nice.
Yeah, I feel that he's just going to deal with these and whip out the Maelstrom Portal, deal with nearly everything, then drop the Creeper, and he'll have such a big board against very, very little that there won't be many comeback mechanisms, but High Main could be one of those. High Main is something that will still keep Helix in with a chance here.
That is a nice little find off the Maelstrom Portal as well, because when that's dealt with, it will buff something else up. On top of everything else, the Tar Creeper next to the Flame Tongue Totem means that it's an even more difficult taunt to deal with.
It definitely is, but as we said earlier, it does not win you the game on the spot. It slows the game down, but it doesn't start coming in for much damage, although it will be coming in for 3 next to a Flame Tongue. And the double High Main options here, on top of a Jambre that could pick up another big minion, maybe another High Main or a Dread or something, that could still give Helix a chance here, depending what comes from that Jambre and what comes off the top of his deck. These big minions are going to be a nuisance for Jambre to deal with.
Yeah, but the Fire Elemental onto Savannah this turn, you can then trade in your Zealot, you can trade your 1-1 into the 3-1, kind of just ignore the Hyenas.
Yep.
And then next turn, you're looking at that Primal Lord, you're looking at getting a massive meaty minion down onto the board. And not only that, you get that elemental invocation.
Invocation.
We'll see what effect he will end up going for, but actually we'll trade into one of the Hyenas. I get there was the option to avoid them, but I suppose
this is a strong spot he's in here, look.
Yeah.
He's not taking a single point of damage to the face right now either. And he's expecting the Primal Lord to be able to deal with most things going on, but Helix Fossil's definitely not completely dead in this one, despite the fact he's taking a whole chunk. Let's see what comes from this. This could swing the game.
Giant Wasp.
It's
okay. Poisonous is pretty good, especially when there's these big minions on board. It's just there's a Tar Creeper in the way.
Yeah, and you're dead to Lightning Storm a lot of the time. Well, the Wasp's kind of going to do things here. Maybe that's his way back in. It's really difficult. You just want to slam that High Main, but so many things just deal with a High Main. Like Hex on it would lose you the game instantly. Maybe he goes for the Wasp and just jams all the other cards and hopes for the best. And that might actually work out if he does, because there is no AoE in the hand of Jambre. I think Helix is resigned to going all in here. He looks like he's a man who knows he's up against it. Take a chance here, and he will possibly still be in this game. And he's going to go all in, take the chance, and see, hey, if you've got Lightning Storm, I've lost. If you haven't got Lightning Storm, I haven't. But we can see,
I mean, this
the power of the Primal Lord.
Yeah, first of all, you've got the Primal Lord that can just wipe the board immediately with that 3 damage to all minions. He is going to go for that one, unsurprisingly here. But also, just bear in mind, there is, what, 13 damage on board right here?
Yeah.
Or 12 damage, sorry. That's a terrifying amount to just be slamming into face. And now, looking at lethal on board, there's not a whole lot that Helix can do about that one. He is going to concede this one. That means Jambre goes and knocks it back up to 1 apiece. We have a series on our hands.
1 game all, and the champion is not going down without a fight.
No, he's certainly not. The champion, as you say, is not going to be dropping just yet. Helix Fossil, he still has his work cut out if he wants to win out this series, but he's definitely been impressing me with his decisions in these games so far. Definitely a a player that you need to be looking out for. I mean, the decisions on whether or not to just drop the high main in that game specifically.
Right. I mean,
unfortunate that he did fall into AoE, but...
So that's a play where a beginner will make that play and lose because they're bad and they don't know what the cards in the game do and stuff like that. And then a better player will go, I'm not going to walk into your invocation, I'm going to tiptoe around and play my high main, and they'll just lose because Jambre would have just gone smash you in the face, smash you in the face. And then you go to the next level game where he's like, okay, I can't beat either of these two options, but I can beat the option where you don't have the AoE. I'm going to go all in and shut my eyes, and that's a sign of a good player.
So now, the first Warlock of the day. We're going to see the Firefly in hand, and it looks like a bit of a zoo lock coming on through here. I didn't see whether there was any discard before he mulliganed that one. I didn't quite catch what.
There was a Soulfire, but that doesn't tell us anything of use particularly. You're looking for the Melkazars in, but even the most sort of non-discard of zoos these days contain a fair amount of discard. The discard cards are just so powerful now. There was also a Pterodax, which is a card that has come out with Ongoro, 4/4, double adapt, but it eats one of your minions. You're usually looking to eat a possessed villager or
a Devil Saw Egg.
Or a Devil Saw Egg. Makes a 5/5 and a huge minion on the same turn.
Yeah, and it's a 3 mana into 4 mana combo as well, so it fits your curve very nicely, and you end up with an adapted or double adapted 4/4 as well as a 5/5 on the board if they can't deal with it immediately. So
that would be a 7/7 for 4. You'd never have one of those.
No, never. That would be ridiculous. There's no way that would be put into the game.
Not the discard he was looking for. That's one of his better cards. But going wide isn't too bad here against this deck. Jambre doing the Murloc dance, and maybe the War Leader just starts to force enough damage through. I think Helix Fossil's next couple of draws are going to be massively important here.
Well, Redemption is going to be picked, and Jambre, definitely a player that really favours that Redemption. We see him pick that up fairly often when it's in the options available to him. War Leader available for this next turn as well, and there's no immediate way for Helix to deal with this 2/2 on the board, so that will become a 4/3 for the next turn.
I'll tell you one card you wouldn't want to play in around now, and that's a card that makes everything into 3/3s. So the longer that Helix can keep his stuff on the board, the more this Tarim isn't particularly useful. And also Helix there did pause temporarily. He's trying to work out, do I think there's a consecration in this deck? He didn't see one in game 1, so he has to go with no. A lot of the old aggro paladins only had room for 1 or 0. He's going right the way back to the days of the... There's the discard answer, by the way. And going right the way back to the days of Secret Paladin. You tended not to play 2 consecrations anyway.
So now Helix is in this really uncomfortable spot where he's got his Clutch Mother. He can wait a turn. He can Doom Guard to guarantee that he gets that discard, starts to power that up. For anyone that doesn't actually know, the Clutch Mother here, every time it's discarded, gains an extra 2/2 and goes back to your hand. It's a 2 mana 2/2 by default, and then will continue to stack similarly to Van Cleef, except it's when it's discarded instead of when the other cards are played. Now, unfortunately, with that line of play, you basically concede the board entirely.
Yeah, you have to be careful. So making a 2/2 here, in some circumstances, Helix is thinking for so long because it's so useful. It challenges the 4/2. It gives him a chance to kill that Murloc. But obviously you can play a 4/4 in 2 turns' time. But there used to be a card, Shade of Naxxramas, which had stealth and got bigger every turn. And bad players would sit there and let it just get gigantic and die as an 8/8 stealth minion. And I've seen players with the Clutch Mother do very similar things. They keep it in their hand, make it into a 10/10, and they die. Helix not falling into that trap. He just played it as a 2/2. I don't think he could quite decide what he wanted to do about that board there, but he's put the 1 damage onto the War Leader, which means that the Clutch Mother is facing off against both of these. Yeah,
it meant that the Clutch Mother would be able to trade evenly with whatever minion, but unfortunately, with a weapon in hand, that means Jambre is able to just well and truly control this board. Now, dropping down that Redemption as well. If either of these Murlocs dies, they will be regenerated. Doomguard is going to drop, try and gain some semblance of control, but little does he know he won't actually do anything to that War Leader.
And that's got to go all the way back to the Hydrologist turn when Jambre decided to pick the Redemption. He's obviously played this deck a lot. What would we expect? Less from the Paladin Master. He knew that at some point down the line, that Redemption was going to basically
You ready for the Wind
one
Fury?
of Helix's turns impossible. Wind Fury would be disgraceful behaviour.
This is going to be... Could have been beautiful. Isn't going to go for anything crazy. Does obviously go for the trade, which is, you know, the correct decision to make. Argus in hand, but nothing to play it with.
And that redemption, that decision that Jambre made before he had the war lead on the table, though it was in his hand, is going to almost certainly win him this game. Helix is going to throw out as much as he can to not die, but I think there's one off-lethal here? Two off-lethal, but it's going to stop Helix from being able to tap as well if he wants to go face with a true silver, which he should, because stopping your opponent from tapping is huge when they're desperate.
An eye for an eye, just to try and guarantee a kill, even if he loses control of the board at this stage.
Right.
And it's just going to keep on dropping extra Murlocs. And that's the thing about this hero power in conjunction with the War Leader. A 2-mana 3/2 every single turn. And just going to slam that damage into face. No way back here for HelixFossil at this stage. He can drop these just to get a taunt, but it's not going to save him. And he's well aware of that. 2-1 now to Jambre in very quick fashion as well.
Yeah, the Murloc Paladin, Jambre again winning with Paladin in an important tournament.
Yeah,
I don't know how he does it.
I don't know, but he always does.
He does pull out the Paladin when the chips are down, and it does him the world of good. I think the UK is in safe hands with his Paladin. They do have to play all 9 classes in the next tournament.
So now I believe we have Rogue remaining for Jambre. I believe is correct. I think
the Rogue was banned, actually.
Wasn't it? His Warrior was banned. Oh, no. Sorry,
my notes are the same as yours at this
Warrior.
point in the evening.
Yeah, so he's actually got Warrior here.
Because I was confused earlier when I said about the Crab being the
Yeah.
deck and then banning Warrior, but that's because I just wanted to mislead you and make you sound like you were wrong.
Yeah, it was his Rogue that was banned. He's bringing the Warrior. He's got through. We are going to see this Face Hunter once again. The old Pirate Warrior thing where you draw the patches.
Was that you doing a pirate impression?
Yeah, it was kind of half pirate, half, I don't know, devastated person one. Devastated person one. You know, that sound effect you get on those keyboards that you play in school.
Making noises along the lines of devastated person. This Patches is going to eat a whole bunch of crab. Going to just die horribly. Not only is it the Patches, but it is just now rip.
And that's something that a Fiery War Axe is just not going to be able to deal with on its own. And I think Jambre just going to already... Actually, no, is going to try and trade into this one.
Yeah, but Divine Shield or something like that here, or even Wind Fury, or plus... All of these things aren't ideal, but they're all going to do a whole bunch of damage for one turn.
I feel like Wind Fury is the way forward right here. It's already
Actually?
done. Although 3 attack also...
3 attacks more because the weapon's going to go back into it.
Yeah, you get the same attack this turn, but then you also get a bonus 3 when the weapon hits it, if the weapon hits it.
Bonus 3 damage. It's a difficult decision from where he sat, though. Wind Fury might feel like the safer option for where he is sat. It guarantees that damage goes through, but I feel like plus 3 attack just does so much damage to the face and sets up your hero power for the rest of the game. Because even though the Warrior can use its hero power to gain that armor, if they're doing that, they're just not developing this board. Okay, Helix goes for the Wind Fury.
Yeah, I can certainly understand the decision. Also, it means that he doesn't just ignore that minion and drop this taunt that we can see in his hand. Obviously, he doesn't know about it, but Dread Corsair is a very common card to have in a Pirate Warrior deck. But already, this is looking like a scary start for Jambre, as the board is just going to be filled up once again by HelixFossil.
Yeah, and I'm looking at like down the line here on turn 5 when Helix plays the Rhino, that it gets hit with an Arcanite Reaper. And if that gets hit with an Arcanite Reaper, I don't see how Jambre does enough damage to win this game in time. Because that 5 needs to go face. If it doesn't go face, you get hit with a Savannah Highmane and lose. So I think that Helix is in a really good spot here, and Jambre is going to need to get out of this with taunts and with some cunning play somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I'm not sure what cunning play is available to actually pull himself out of this deficit specifically. He's going to continue to trade away in this scenario,
which is always a sign that the Warrior is having a bad time.
Yeah, if you've got the Pirate Warrior to be on the defensive, to be the one. Oh, goodness. The Dispatch Coder arrives on the scene, finishes off the Corcoran. Jambre trying to set up the board so the favourable trades go his way, so that the 3-2 has to trade on in, but just isn't going to happen in the end. And now, an awful hand to be dealing with as well. It's just going to go for the upgrade immediately.
Yeah, and this one is going to conclude very shortly. I think Jambre will give it up as soon as he sees this Rhino. He's not one of these guys who tends to play it out when the writing's on the wall. He will probably just move on with his life. He'll probably look at his top deck to make sure there's no surprise card he forgot about in his deck.
That magical Leroy that happens to deal 29 damage.
And heal yourself for 13 along the way.
It's going to stay on the board, but as we can see, this one is all but over. The Rhino is down, Savannah's in hand. This is going to be game. So Helix Fossil evening up this series right now as he's going to make it 2-2. And this has been, despite the fact we've had full 4 games so far, this has been a lightning fast series.
It sure has, and this is it. We've got one game of Hearthstone to kick one of these guys out of the Premiership, and the other one's going to have a decent chance of getting through. If they go to 1 and 2, you've only got to win 2 more of your games in a row. It sounds impossible, but when you get to that 1 and 2 instead of 0 and 2, you've actually got a decent chance. And then we're going to send somebody home. I mean, they're already home, but we're going to really send them home.
So now we have the question of Pirate Warrior versus Zoolock. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Both of them very heavily dependent on kind of curving well and just getting maximum mana efficiency. But also with the current version of Zoo, where you've got a lot of discard, we already saw Clutch Mothers in there. A lot of it can be dependent on how well Helix is actually able to play these hands and make sure that he's discarding the right cards and that he's putting himself in the best positions to discard the right cards.
Right, and this is a really good start to do that. He's got Possessed Villager, which will take down 2 1-health pirates. He's got the Soulfire, which will deal with whatever turn 3 drop Jambre wants to drop on him. He's got a Taunt as well. But what he hasn't got, and what he'd really like, and we haven't seen it, is the Fellhound. If he draws the Fellhound, this game could be over. The other problem at the moment is for Jambre, he hasn't actually drawn a thing.
He has got the Fiery War Axe to try and take control of the board just a little bit here, but he hasn't got much in terms of board presence. Doesn't have any of those early pirates, those 1-drops to get himself into this game, and the Direwolf Alpha always feels nice to drop. Makes that 1-1 just feel a little bit more powerful.
And this is where that Soulfire is going to come into play, and it's a good job for Jambre that he's drawn another 4-health minion. Soulfire is going to take out the first one most likely, and at least the second one will stick. This is definitely not over yet. Helix is got a fairly sticky board, but Jambre has got quite a lot of stuff to start fighting back. Corcon Elite on turn 4 will be very handy as well.
Yeah, isn't going to play around a Soulfire here, just goes for the Frothing Berserker, but I do agree with that decision in that, first of all, you're... the Malcazar Imp.
I think you just spam this lot. I think you just go Malcazar's Imp, Flame Imp, Soulfire, give up on the fact that Councilman's really good, draw a new card for next turn, you'll draw a card at the start of next turn, and your board is... It's kind of overwhelming even though it's small, just because a 1-3 actually faces off so well, and that is the perfect draw, as long as he draws something to play next turn, which most of his deck will do. He'll be looking for a Pterodax.
So Corcoran down on board just to try and contest this one. Knife Juggler, not the end of the world.
He can't really tap though.
No.
So one play he could do here is Knife Juggler and bump in the Villager and shut his eyes. If the Villager then wins the 50-50, it kills the 4-2. But he's going to play sensibly and trade in the 3-2 because he's not an idiot like me. Off he goes.
Yeah, that's one of those plays where it's like, if you're a gambling man, this is a potentially incredible play, but in the real world, the odds are pretty slim that it ever works out. Well, they're not slim, they're exactly 50-50, but is 50-50 really the odds you want to take? Now, Doomguard available this turn. Would have to discard Argus and Knife Juggler, both very powerful cards in this deck.
Yeah, his other choice would be to maybe play the Defender of Argus and take the free kill on the patches. You're risking eating a whole bunch of damage, but you are on 24. Yeah, he goes for the option that you default to if you're not sure what to do with Zoo. Clear the board, live to fight another day.
Yeah, board control, kind of the mantra of Zoo Warlock. A lot of heroic strikes right here in the hand of Jambre. He has a huge amount of direct damage available right now. Will armor up as well. And we're in this awkward situation for Zoo, especially against a Pirate Warrior, where you have to start tapping every single turn, which, when you're against a deck with so much direct damage, is a dangerous situation.
Yeah, and Jambre is in a good spot here. He's got 10, he's got so much damage in hand. That's 18 damage in hand. He can win in 2 turns from here. Helix has already got rid of a 1/3, a Void Walker, and he's already got rid of a
He saw the
Defender of Argus as well.
We just saw the Defender of Argus get discarded last turn. I feel like you just drop the Arcanite and Heroic Strike and just say, you don't have another taunt.
So
has he used 2 Void Walkers already, or just the 1? I feel like the other Void Walker was in the previous game.
Yeah,
Isn't going to go
under
for it
pressure. Maybe he's scared of the Fellhound and he's going to keep these strikes back in case a Fellhound comes down. We haven't seen one yet from Helix. He could definitely do with one about precisely now. You can play this Dark Librarian. He's going to have to tap, I feel. And he knows when Pirates does nothing on turn 7, he knows the sort of things that are in hand, and the sort of things that are in hand are nasties.
That is a very nice turn of events for Helix. He's able to get the double discard onto his Clutch Mother and drop that 6/6 on the board. He finally has some semblance of presence here, but with an upgrade there as well. That is going to be a huge chunk. 10 per turn coming through here from Jambre.
He has lethal next turn. Can Helix draw a taunt? If he,
He wanted to armor up. He wanted to make sure that he's in the game. No taunt comes out immediately. Life tap.
He can't see it coming. I don't think he will tap because that taps into Leroy. If he taps it down to 12, he'll be playing into Leroy Jenkins. He knows those 2 cards have been in hand for the whole game. He can't tap here, I don't think.
He shouldn't attack here because that activates Mortal Strike as well. It makes it even more likely that he drops down here, but I think he's just decided...
It sets up next turn lethal, though, with a Soulfire, so I feel he has to do it. He's torn. He knows he's in trouble here. He knows the writing's on the wall, seeing this heroic strike. And Jambre sneaks through 3-2, and the champion is not dead yet.
He's made it back in. He was reeling from the punches, but Jambre gets the KO, wins it out 3-2 in that matchup. And what a game that was as well. 40